Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with here today with an article from The Federalist dated July 1st, and it is entitled Democrat Media Aren't Upset Biden is Senile, They're Mad They Can't Hide It Anymore. So, as you'd probably guess, just based on the date that this happened, or I should say this article was written a few days after the debate between former President Trump and current President Biden, that Biden looked like a complete, I don't know what to say at this point. I thought about 7 different words there at the same time, but he looked like an idiot. Well, I mean, that's kind of normal for him, but just looked old and doddering, and Trump was on point, and Trump definitely won that debate. And as in accordance with the article's title, they're just mad, the media is, that they can't hide Biden's senility anymore. And I like how some of them are coming out and being like, oh God, we didn't know about this. And it's like, yeah, you did. And conservative media has been saying this for like 5 years, and these folks are like, how could we have possibly known? Well, let's just dive right into it. So the subheadline here says, had Democrats in the media been honest about how obvious Biden's condition was a year ago, they might have a winning candidate now. But they can't do that because anything to own the GOP, just have to go against it. So shortly after Biden's disastrous debate ended Thursday, Ben Rhodes tweeted, just think about what that debate looked like to people and leaders around the world. And Ben Rhodes used to work for Obama, by the way, and he's someone that was like massively unqualified for the role that he was in. Go look it up. Says Rhodes, a loyal Democrat soldier, was careful not to say that everyone was far more concerned about how the current president came off than Donald Trump, but he didn't have to. Besides, the concern abroad over Biden's mental state wasn't exactly new. Just a few weeks ago, concern over Biden's addled appearances at the G7 summit was reportedly on unsparingly by the foreign press, without the repugnant "don't believe your eyes and ears" qualifications applied by the turnspits, I've never heard that word before, in the American media. Yeah, it's like very Orwellian that these folks are like, yeah, I know that you guys can see this and hear him, but that's not true. And then KJP comes out and is like, no, it's all cheap fakes. And it's like, no, you guys are just lying, and they've been caught, and they're kind of like, we don't know what to do now. Continuing on, says the only reason anyone ever believed Biden was up to the job is that they were lied to, even though most Americans have always understood Biden has been exhibiting signs of dementia before he ever became president. Yes, we all knew this beforehand. And going back to that first part there, says the only reason anyone ever believed Biden was up to the job is that they were lied to. And I would say, no, it's because they just wanted to beat Trump. That was it. I really think that was just it. And I don't think anyone ever thought Biden's up to the job. This is the third time that he's tried to run for president. And the other 2 times he's been like unceremoniously dumped. And the first time he had to bow out because he plagiarized somebody else's speech and got caught. That was like in 1980, it was in 87 for the 88 election. Continuing on, it says, at this point, it's impossible to deny that Democrats and their media allies have betrayed and endangered America by spending the last few years lying to us about Biden's age-related mental competency. Of course, it's only fitting that Rhodes would come around, however, circumspectly, to admitting that as far as Biden's concerned, the wheel's turning, but the hamster is dead. That's one of my insults that I like to use for stupid people, is like the hamster wheel isn't turning anymore. So it's funny to see somebody actually use it in an article. But it's funny, the wheel's turning, but the hamster is dead. So the hamster's just flopping around on that. I'm sorry, that's just funny to me. So this is Rhodes, the boy wonder of the Obama White House, is chiefly famous for admitting in print that he openly manipulated reporters on behalf of the president to push Obama's ill-advised Iran deal, because the average reporter we talk to is 27 years old, and their only reporting experience consists of being around political campaigns. That's a sea change. They literally know nothing. So he's a piece of crap. So Rhodes and his colleagues even bragged that certain reporters were so dedicated to helping them push the foreign policy narrative that they would just find everything and retweet it. You mean kind of like right now. They just take whatever a Democrat administration says and goes, yep, sounds good to us. While this administration was briefly scandalous, it was only notable because Rhodes had merely said out loud what everyone knew to be true. The Beltway Press Corps will print whatever Democrat politicians tell them to, as I just said no matter how outrageous or even dangerous for America's national security their policies are. That is correct, and I've got a bout of the hiccups here all of a sudden, so I will power through it. It says, indeed, in Thursday's debate, Trump would rightfully hammer Biden for turning on the money spigot to the world's leading state sponsor of terror after he turned it off during his presidency. Naturally, Iran was flowing money to Hamas, which helped trigger the current war in Israel, as well as the Houthis, whom Biden took off the terror watch list almost as soon as he took office as a sop to their paymasters in Tehran. The Houthis have now spent months attacking ships in the Red Sea, exacerbating America's inflation woes as well as causing major environmental disasters. Yeah, basically they're sinking ships, and I think we know what's in ships, oil, and we know what oil is going to do to the ocean. So good job, guys, all around. Great job. But the media largely shrugged when Obama started flying planes to Iran with hundreds of millions in cash, and Rhodes told them not to care about it. The media seemed to care even less when the Biden administration decided to give Iran access to $10 billion more a short time after they were responsible for killing American soldiers. I feel like this is treason to some degree. But that's just me. It says, yet the media narrative that has been landed on following the debate, which is a matter of consolation than accuracy, or more a matter of consolation than accuracy, is that while Biden appeared frail and incompetent, his character still shined through standing next to a serial liar like Donald Trump, who lied throughout the debate. Oh, and did we mention Trump is a lying liar? He lies, Yeah, that's like the only thing they can say, but I like how Jill Biden came out after she was done basically doggy patting Biden on the head during the debate, and it was like, what did Donald Trump do? He lied. It was like, can you name something that he lied about? I mean, I think there's one thing I could think of. That was him using a technicality. That was like when he said he never slept with a porn star. And I think at the time that with Stormy Daniels was that she technically wasn't a porn star at the time. But that was the only thing. But Joe Biden's just like, nah, he lied and couldn't name anything. But okay. Yeah, but again, Donald Trump is a lying liar who lies, sort of thing, yeah. It says, one need not defend Trump's aggrandizing rhetoric and personal peccadillos to acknowledge that it's not obvious to most voters that Biden is the better or more honest person. Indeed, Biden's own lies, immoral behavior, embrace of racists, and foreign corruption with his felonious sex trafficker of a son are plenty egregious even by Washington standards. Yeah, I don't think Biden gets to talk about being the decent man between the two of them. Certainly not. To me, he's definitely the worst of the two. Says, but for those who insist Biden is objectively more honest, particularly those in the media, here's a question they should be forced to answer. What lie did Trump tell in Thursday's debate more damnable than Biden's claim that he's the only president this century that did not have any troops dying anywhere in the world? Yeah, I heard that on the debate, and I was like, what the hell? I'm sure the Gold Star families are just like probably throwing stuff at their TVs and driving to Washington now just to try to punch him in the face for saying that. So continuing on, I can see it already brings this up. It says, just a few months ago, Biden's State of the Union address was interrupted by the screaming of the anguished father of one of the 13 service members who were killed in Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Yet this protest barely registered in the media, when we all know such a heart-rending display would be used as a cudgel against any Republican. And that's wholly aside from the fact that there's a merit to the argument that the reckless nature of the Afghanistan withdrawal means Biden bears real responsibility for their deaths. And he absolutely does. There's a book that it's already out, but I have the paperback coming out, and I think it's like a month from now, from the time I'm recording this, that talks about the withdrawal. So I'm anxious to get into that. I really do want to read it. But I would go ahead and just leave my comments here and saying that, yeah, that is 100% Biden's responsibility, and he just doesn't seem like he gives a crap. So, of course, don't expect anyone to acknowledge the real problem here. It's not just that voters are upset with Biden's debate performance or are rightfully concerned the nation is in peril under his addled leadership. It's that they feel lied to. A week ago, the New York Times was regurgitating the White House spin that misleading videos are trailing Biden as he battles age doubts, as if the voluminous number of videos of Biden stumbling over his words and wandering off stage were all cheap fakes per the White House's talking points. Yes, every single one of them, the quite literal thousands of videos that are all cheap fakes, every one of them. Sure, guys. Following the debate, at least 3 of their op-ed columnists called for Biden to withdraw, and the paper has run an official editorial telling him to bow out. The dwindling number of people who still trust legacy media outlets such as The Times will no doubt insist their willingness to call out Joe's problems is a sign of their integrity. However, this would only be a sign of integrity if they called for him to drop out after it became obvious Biden was senile, and that happened years ago. The about-face occurred only after they started to panic that he couldn't win re-election. Correct. This is something that just happened because of the debate. Besides, the fact that it's nearly impossible to recall another time when any big elitist media institution diverged with a Democratic White House on such a big issue is the exception that proves the rule. Biden may yet withdraw, but if he doesn't, he need not worry whether the media will line up with him. He's going to kick and scream if they're going to force him to withdraw, too. Following Biden's debate catastrophe on MSNBC, Jen Psaki asked California Governor Gavin Newsom, what should people out there who have social media platforms and like President Biden be pushing out there that was damaging and terrible from Donald Trump tonight? Like, literally nothing, but okay. Just to be clear on what's happening in this exchange, a woman who went straight from being the current president's press secretary to joining a major news network with no real objection from her peers is asking Biden's official debate surrogate how to send out literal talking points to damage the incumbent Democrats' opponent on live television. That's a very good summary of what that sentence means. So yeah, and I've always had a problem with Jen Psaki just taking that role, and people just are like, oh yeah, that's okay, like that's totally normal for the press secretary to go there to a news organization and then start spouting the BS that she does. So it's not just that the debate made it impossible to delay Biden's cognitive decline, it's that the media's desperation to defend him is also laying bare the total moral and ethical collapse of journalism. It's tempting for Trump supporters to revel in schadenfreude over this mess because Trump, who's been leading in the polls since September, just saw his odds of winning jump even more, and the down-ballot effects for Dems of a lopsided victory could be devastating, and God, I hope it is. But the reality is that there's no good outcome for the country. Democrats have spent years insisting Trump and the Republican Party were a threat to democracy because of a certain date in January that, if I say that, we'll have a little wiki note on this video, but you can see the date there, and then plus I said it's in January, and I'm sure you know what it is. But that threat may pale in comparison to having a non-compos mentis man in the White House with two separate wars raging involving nuclear powers. If distrust between voters and our leadership class is already a problem, it's about to get a lot worse. Even if Dems do try to hot swap the candidate in the middle of the election, Kamala Harris has the lowest approval ratings of any vice president in history, in modern history, it says. And also there's polls that have come out already that says Kamala would do worse against Trump than Biden would, so there's that too. And the process for substituting any other candidate would likely cause so much strife within the Democratic coalition and legal turmoil that it would swallow the election. You think 2020 was divisive because people questioned the results? Just imagine heading into this election with active litigation about whether it's against state law to take Biden's name off the ballot in crucial swing states a couple of months before the election. It didn't have to be this way. All Democrat leaders in the media had to do was not be so craven in their desire to cling to power. In fact, had they been honest about how Biden's condition was a year ago, they might have a candidate who was winning the election. Instead, they sowed distrust with citizens, empowered enemies who are taking advantage of an enfeebled leader, and brought the country to the brink of domestic turmoil. And still, they have no intention of accepting responsibility for what they've done. Yeah, I don't expect any mea culpa from any news organization because that's just how they are. They're just not going to do it. So, finishing it off, it says they're not actually upset to have just discovered the man in charge of our nuclear weapons is senile. They're upset they can't continue to hide this fact from you any longer. That's correct. And that's what this gnawing and thrashing is that's been going on for the last week or so since the debate. From the time I'm recording this, it's been a little over a week. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this? I mean, if you were someone that was on the left and you saw this and now you're like, wait a minute, I don't think you're, not necessarily voting for Trump or anything. Like, what do you think about this? I'd be very curious to see, did you actually believe everything they were telling you about Biden? Or like everybody on the right side of the political spectrum, where you yeah, this guy there's something off about him here. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.